Hi, I'm Ariel Fristoe. I'm directing Stop Me Because I Can't Stop Myself.
Okay, and could you give me a description of the show?
Yeah, so first of all, it's a promenade style show, so the audience gets to move around in the space and choose what they see and what they experience when. They have guides to suggest times when they might want to move to a new area, but it's actually up to them. The whole show is inspired by Las Vegas, so we've got 10 Vegas-style, very short solo acts that the audience can choose to see, and then there are a bunch of experiences that they can have as well. They can throw darts, play roulette, get drinks at the bar, see a peep show, get married in the chapel, and some other Vegas experiences.
Cool. And what was your inspiration for the show?
I'm the artistic director and founder of a company in Atlanta called Out of Hand Theater. We're a 12-year-old company, and our sort of specialty is that we only develop new work, so we don't produce already published plays. And more often than not, we do that in collaboration with some kind of interesting, passionate expert. And sometimes that's scientists, sometimes it's activists, community leaders. This time we started working with a psychiatrist who runs a clinic in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for what is currently called impulse control disorders. Now the name is being changed to behavioral addictions. But this guy studies and treats people who suffer from addictions like gambling and sex and shopping. And once we got introduced to this guy and started working with him, we realized that these problems were all around us in a way that we hadn't noticed before, that suddenly close friends and family and colleagues were coming out of the woodwork and saying, actually, I have one of these problems, or another one of the impulse control disorders, and I didn't know it had a name. I didn't know there was treatment for it. I didn't know there were support groups, but it turns out there are. So for some reason, and I'm not sure why, it seems to be a very timely subject matter. And so that while we started as a collaboration with these people at the University of Minneapolis, Minnesota, artists and then the psychiatrists and clinic there, it has turned into a very personal project as well. The fun things that we're doing in Stop Me is that when you buy your ticket, you get 10 poker chips that you get to spend any way you want during the course of the show. You can bet, you can buy things, you can tip the performers. So the show and the world of the show has its own currency. I think that'll be one of the fun things about coming to experience it.
What sort of other work have you done with Out of Hand Theater Company?
So this is our 12th or 13th season. I think it's the 12th. What we've been doing lately, we are currently touring a show called Group Intelligence. That's a collaboration with an international Center for Chemical Evolution, who are a bunch of scientists who study the chemistry behind how life begins on a molecular level. So we developed that show in Atlanta, and we've toured it in the US and Europe, which has been really neat because we've been touring it both to arts festivals, to performing arts festivals as we would usually do, but also to science festivals, and that's been a whole new world for us. We're also in Atlanta right now. We're producing a show called Titus Clown that is a 3-clown adaptation of Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus. One of the fun things about that show is that the special effects guy from the TV show The Walking Dead, which films in Atlanta, is our blood effects guy on it, and it is a very bloody show. And it's actually running on the set of a production of Titus Andronicus, so you can come see that at 8 o'clock and then stay and see Titus Clown afterwards. It's like the late night chaos.
Awesome.
And And Out of Hand has developed 12 original shows over 12 years, 8 of which have toured the US and Europe. And another sort of recent highlight was a show called Hominid that we developed with Fristoe, who's a world-famous behavioral scientist who's been on like Time's list of 100 most influential people alive, and he's always like in the New York Times and on CNN. And it was a lot of fun to get to spend a lot of time with him. And that's, Fristoe studies chimpanzees and other great apes to learn more about humans. And in fact, if you ask him, he'll say, well, yes, humans are a great ape. We're one of the 5. And so we took a story, a true story that took place in a chimpanzee colony in the zoo in the Netherlands that Fristoe witnessed when he was a young man, and he published this story in a book that really launched his career and made him famous. And we took that and adapted it into a human zoo, but we never actually say in the show if the characters are humans or chimpanzees, so we sort of ride the line between the two. But when these events play out on stage, they look like Shakespeare. There's a king, and there's people who plot to overthrow him and assassinate him, and conspiracies and suicide and grieving wives and all of this sort of very grand, very human-seeming drama. But it's actually a true story that took place among chimpanzees.
What do you think of Juniata College?
So, well, first of all, it's incredibly gorgeous here, and it has been such a pleasure to be here at the most beautiful time of the year, especially when you live in Atlanta, where the leaves just sort of slowly turn brown from October to February and then sadly fall off finally. But also, this is a really special place. I've done residencies at a number of colleges and universities around the country, and I've never met a group of students quite like this one, who were not only clearly very smart, they're academically successful, obviously that's a major component of the college, also skilled and talented actors, but on top of, or in addition to those two things, also were enthusiastic and confident generative artists who, because the students in the show have written pretty much everything in it, and these students are pretty fearless about going, yeah, I'll write that act, I'll learn how to be a ventriloquist, or do a trapeze act, or I'll play live music on stage, I'll learn magic tricks for the show. And so they've taken it upon themselves to not only learn these special skills in 5 weeks, but then actually write, choreograph, create their own acts, and perform them. So it's a real pleasure to work with students who are that multifaceted.